Okay, I couldn't resist this Snapchat filter. So, coming up next is the cutting instructions for C's and greetings. And we're doing the scrapbooking pages for winter. So here's the cutting instructions, and then tomorrow you will see, we'll do page 1, maybe page 2 and 3 also. All right, so what we're gonna do is work on C's and Green, the winter scrapbooking kit. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the cutting in front of you guys. So get your instructions ready if you haven't done it. And let's do some cutting. When I print out these instructions, I rarely staple them because it's so much easier to flip them if I don't have it stapled. So I've got those all laid out that way today. So let's get to page 1 of the, looks like there's gonna be, see, I can tell Jennifer Smith designed these because there's gonna be very little instruction. That's how she is. And so I can see already the way that she's done these die cuts that we're gonna have to do, that there's probably not even a spot here. You're just basically gonna use scrap paper. And, oh, she spelled wrong too. So did nobody edit this when they did it? So I'm thinking these are probably all white. Yeah, they look like they're all white. So you're gonna just make sure you have your scrap white paper, and I'm sure we all have scrap white paper to use on these, but there should be a lot of scrap on this. So let's get started on this. I'm gonna start on page 4, and then I will go back and do the die cuts after that. So let's get these done. All right, so first one, this makes me so appreciate Close to My Heart and how they do their directions because, let me put this up a little bit so you can see better, but you know, they really do them perfectly. And everything's there, and it tells you exactly where they're supposed to be on the page and that kind of thing too. So Jennifer's will be different. So I guess we're starting with white daisy cardstock instead of starting with the pattern paper, which is what Close to My Heart always does. And I know I'm gonna have to run at some point and get another piece of white daisy probably, because I had to borrow it for something I was doing yesterday. So get your trimmer out. We're gonna be doing this, and it's 3 3/4. So she's got this totally set up differently than Close to My Heart does. So I'm working horizontally across the page instead of vertically, which is the way that Close to My Heart does it. So just do your best. Just do your best. Look at the measurements. That's the most important thing, right? So these are all going to be 3 3/4 by 2 3/4 until we get to the last one. So 3 of those. And those for layout 4. And then you're going to do a 7/8 by 3 1/4 with that last scrap. Now keep your scraps, because those are probably going to be what we need to use to cut out those die cuts later. So I'm going to set those aside. All right, now do what I do. The smartest thing to do is get a place where you can set out your piles and put these immediately when you finish a page. Put them into piles so these are all ready to go on the right side, whether it's light or dark, you know, when you're ready to start doing these getting these made. So I'm going to move these over here, and these 3 are going to the layout 4, and this is going to layout 1. All right. My counter is a little messy today, so not quite so easy for me to get those all on there. Okay, next page is going to be Sapphire. And she does not tell you dark or light. Again, she is the person that does very little in the way of instructions. So I'm going to go with dark because I always love the dark side. So 10 1/4. It's more vibrant to me. But if you are more of a lighter side person, choose that side. All right, 10 1/4 by 10 1/4. And that's going to be layout 1. And then let's move on to another sapphire piece. Again, I'm gonna use dark side. So this is just how I look at it to make sure I'm getting the right side. And this is going to be 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. So I'm gonna start with the 8 1/4 side first, which is what she did. Go down on that one, throw away the scrap, and then 6 1/4, hope I'm in camera. And that will be for layout 2. And then the second piece is 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. So it's probably gonna be a mat. And that will also be layout 2. So when you get those stacked up right away, you don't have to wonder later, oh, where's the one for layout 2? Okay, now we're gonna use melon. So look through your pieces. Let's find some melon in here. Melon is just another word for peach. There we go. And again, I'm gonna use the dark side, and then she's going horizontally. So I'm gonna do these 3 pieces first, 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, which means I am going to do the 4 1/4 first, the whole strip, like that, and then turn it to 3 1/4. So if you're a person that's not very good spatially, which I really am not, but I've just, you know, I've done this so much now that I can get it, then you want to cut with me, right? Okay, those are layout 4. I'm gonna set them aside for a second while I do the second part, and I'm doing the same thing, which is 4 1/4 all the way down, turning it and doing the 3 1/4 2 times this time. And then I've got some scraps. Those are all gonna go out layout 4, so now I will go ahead and throw those over there. And then we've got the scrap left, so you're gonna do a 2 by 2 and a 2 1/4 by 1 1/2. So I'm gonna do the 2 1/4 first because that's long. 2 1/4 by 1 1/2. And then I'm gonna do the 2 by 2. So I'm gonna now trim that 2 inches and by 2 inches. All right, those are both layout 1. Next up, we're gonna go on to page 5 now. Page 5, we're working with melon again, dark side for me. And going horizontally, I'm gonna go 6 1/4 strip, right? Turn it and go 4 1/4 and 4 1/4. And these are gonna be for layout 3. We'll make one more. So just go back, set those aside, go back and do 6 1/4. I'm gonna do it the long way here, by 4 1/4. That looks like another mat. She does do a lot of mats, which I like. Okay, those are all for layout 3. So next up is gonna be Lagoon. Lagoon has been with us for at least 14 years. Because I remember way back when I first started, that was one of the colors. So we're gonna go across the top. So I'm gonna do strips of 3/4 by 12. So it's just gonna be 3/4 4 times. These are all gonna be for layout 4. So I'll move that to 3/4 again. Move it to 3/4 again. And one more time. Okay. I don't feel like I can chat with you guys as much today because I've got to tell you all this measurements. Now we're going to do the 2 1/4 by 8 1/2. So I'm going to do the 2 1/4 strip. Then I'm going to turn it and go 8 1/2. Okay. So the first 4 were layout 4. So let me put those there before I forget. And then this is layout 1. Moving on. Now we're going to do 3 7/8 is going to be the strip here, like that, and then turn. And it's 2 7/8. 3 times. Oops, that doesn't look right. I don't think I did 2 7/8 here. Did I do that? Was that 3 Oh, I didn't do 3 7/8. Better go back. 3 7/8 is what we're needing to do, and that's what I did tell you. Okay, now 2 7/8. So I guess I just picked up the wrong paper. So 2 7/8, 2 7/8, and 2 7/8. And then one little one that's 1 by 3 3/4. Just 1 by 3/4. That'll be tiny. That's gonna go to layout 1, and the other 3 are going to layout 4. I have my rollable chair. It rolls all over, and I have the floor of my apartment. It's not carpeted, so I can just kind of sail across the floor. All right, lagoon again, dark side for me. And this is gonna be 3 inches strip. And then we'll trim that down to 11 3/4. Like that. That goes to layout 3, and the other one will too. Second one is 3 inches. And then 9 3/4. Hopefully in camera. You have to trust me if you don't see me in camera. Okay, so those are layout 3. Next up, we're doing glacier. Looks like a lot of glacier on these layouts. Dark side. I'm going across the top, which means I'm gonna do 4 1/4 strip across the top. And I'm gonna turn it. I'm gonna do 3 1/4, 3 1/4, and 3 1/4. And set those aside. Those are all going to layout 4. And then this last little piece is gonna be 1 1/2 by 2. So I'm just gonna do the 2 and then a 1 1/2. Like this. Am I in camera? All right, so that 1 1/2 goes to layout 1, the other go to layout 4. Okay, next part of that page, 4 3/4, 4 1/4 again. Strip across the top, and then you're gonna turn it. 3 1/4, 3 1/4, and then 3 1/4. Go ahead and do that one more time, but then you're gonna turn that piece and do 3 1/4, so it's a square. Okay, so the 2 bigger ones go to layout 4. This goes to layout 2. And last piece on that. Take your big strip. That's gonna be 3 1/4 strip now. Cut that down and then turn it to 3 1/4 square. 2 times. And those are layout 2. All right, moving through this very quickly. If I go too fast for you, just hit pause and catch up. Very easy. All right, dark side of glacier again. This is gonna be, now this time I'm just gonna go straight to the 4 1/4 mark. So I'm kind of changing it up for this one since there's only one piece on that, and then turning that to 6 1/4. And that will be layout 4. Okay. Next up, green apple. Very, very bright. Let's do the dark side. This time she's changed it up because of the way she's doing the mats here. And so we're gonna go vertical on this one. So I'm gonna go straight down 5 1/4. So a little bit different this time. And then turn it to 7 1/4. And that'll be the first piece, and that will be for layout 1. And then get your scrap from that. And you're gonna do 3 1/4, so we're gonna go ahead and do 1 1/8. Preserving paper that way. And changing into 3 1/4. Okay, and that's going to layout 1. Then go back to your big piece and go to, we can do the 6 1/2, I think. So go to 6 1/2 and cut that all down. So this page is just a little different. And then 4.5. 2 times. And these are going to layout 3. Okay, doing good. Next up is the second green apple. And we're gonna go ahead and just do 4.5 strip, and then 6.5. Just turn it, and that will be layout 3. Okay. Now, think green apple, and melon glitter paper. Grab your melon glitter paper. This is going to be tricky because you're going to do some very, very skinny little pieces. So it looks like we'll just start at the top. The top is 12 inches by 1/8. By 1/8. So just 1/8 of an inch. And you're going to do this. Let's see how many times. You're going to do this 4 times. Okay, so skinny strip after skinny strip is what we're making here. Make sure you get it in there straight. And 1/8 of an inch. 2, 3, and one more. Okay, now the next one is going to be the same thing, except at 11 3/4. So those ones go to layout 4. Get those out of your way so you don't mix these up. Now we're going to turn the paper to make it easier for us, and we're going to take off 1/4 of an inch because the next 4, the next two are 11 3/4. So I'm going to put this at 11 3/4 and just trim that. Make sure I'm doing this the right way. Now, so I've got myself confused. Okay, this is the way we want to do it. So the long side that fills up all the way to 12. Now we're going to move it to 11 3/4. So make sure you're cutting the correct side. So put that long side at 12, then moved it to 3/4. Then you'll make sure that you're on the right one. Cut that strip off and then put that in your scrap pile. Then turn, and we're going to do 2 more at 1/8 of an inch. So now it's going to be 1/8 by 11 3/4. So just 2 of them. 1/8. I don't know why she didn't just use shimmer trim. Ah, Jennifer, you wouldn't believe how many times I've had to contact her and say, what were you thinking? All right, so 2 of those, and those go to layout 3. Now, go back, turn this back the other way again. Put it at 11 3/4, but now we're gonna move it to, looks like, and I wanna make sure I get it right here. She's done 12, she's done 11 3/4. The next bunch is 10 1/8. 10 1/8. So we're gonna move to 10 1/8 and cut it. So start at 11 3/4 here on the right side of the page. And then go to 10 1/8 and cut that. Okay, this is scrap. Put it away. So this should be 10 1/8, right? Turn it, and then it says do 2 at 1/8 an inch by 10 1/8. So there's 1 and 2. And these go to layout 2. Okay. Now the next one we're gonna do is going to be, looks like 8 inches. So take your paper back to that 10 1/8 and move it to 8. So her proportions on her directions aren't really matchy. So take this and scrap, turn, and again we're doing 1/8. Now we're doing, it looks like 2 pieces for layout 2, 2 pieces for layout 3, 1/8 of an inch. So let's do layout 2. And put those over on layout 2. And then do 2 more at 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch by, we're at 8 inches. 1/8 of an inch by 8. And these will go to layout 3. Okay, now go turn it back again. And now we're going to be doing 6 1/8. So put it back at 8 1/8 and go to 6 1/8. Trim that down, put that scrap away, and now we're gonna do 2 for layout 2, 1/8 of an inch again. Layout 2. Turn it back again. So now it should be your measurement up here would be 6 1/8. But now we're gonna cut it down to 4 and, I think that's 4 1/4. 4 1/4, so go to 4 1/4. Cut that scrap off. Turn it, and this time we're not doing 1/8, we're doing 1/2, but just one piece. So do 1/2 of an inch, so that's going to layout 4. All right, and then you can turn it back again, and this time we're gonna go from that 4 1/4 to 3 inches. 3 inches. So turn it that way, turn off that 3, and then we're gonna do 3 at 1/8 of an inch. 1, 2, and 3. And those all go to layout 2. Layout 2. Turn it back. The last 2 are going to be 2 3/4. So cut 2 3/4 the long way. That part's scrap, and then turn it. And this time we're doing 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. And you're doing 2 of them, and these are for layout 4. So those end up being 1/2 inch by 2 3/4. And we are done. So that was the hardest part, you guys. Done. And that goes to layout 2. No, sorry, layout 4. All right, let me check my camera. Doing good. Okay, next, page 7. We're gonna go to the pattern papers now. Now we got that out of the way. Oh my goodness. All right, set your cardstock aside. Set all your melon scraps aside. And now we're gonna go to the written word paper, the blue side. Looks like this. I did not trim off my zip strips yet, so I'm just gonna do that right now. There we go. And then this is gonna be 10 by 10. So get it up there. 10 by 10. Okay, layout 1. Now do the same thing. We're gonna do it again, just different cutting, same paper. Take your zip strip off first, if you didn't do those at the beginning. And this one is going to be 1/2 inch pieces. Just starting at the top, move it over 1/2 inch. Make sure the words are horizontal as you're cutting, so not this way, this way. Put your words so that they're actually vertical when you're looking at them, but they're horizontal when you're cutting them. And these are going to be all 1/2 inch. Probably some kind of type of zip strip themselves. And you need 4 of those, and those go to layout 2. I am thrilled that Jennifer is now part of the artistic team for Close to My Heart, and we'll see a lot more of her stuff. All right, the next one is really, really light, and it looks like it's the snowflake paper. So find that. I think it's snowflake. Yeah. So I believe that's it, because I don't see Did I see that anywhere else? Oh, no, snowflake. No, not shell, but snowflake paper. Yeah, that looks like it. See, it's very, very light on my paper, but yeah, that's it. So take your zip strip off first. Get that out of the way. Hope I get enough lighting in here for you guys. I don't have my usual lighting because of where I live now. I used to have a lot of light coming in my window. So this one's going to be 3 inches by 11 3/4. When that goes on layout 3, these both will, so I'll just set that aside for a minute. And the second one, 3 inches by 10 1/4. Okay, 10 1/4, and these both go to layout 3. Next, striped paper. Look at the way that they've got it lined up. She's got it lined up vertically here, so let me see if we're gonna keep it that way. Take off your zip strip. All right, so she wants you to cut across the stripes. So you're gonna turn it this way so that when you're cutting, the stripes make a nice, you know, line like that instead of being lengthwise. So this is gonna be 3/4 by 12, and we're gonna do that 4 times. So there's 1, see, that's the way you want it to look. 2, oh, I'm sorry, the next 2 are 1 inch, not 3/4. So 2 at 3/4 inch and 2 at 1. And the last piece, those are all for layout 4. And then the last piece is going to be a big one, and it's 5 1/2 inches. So do that as the long strip. And then we're going to turn it to 10 1/4. Just like that. Get the scraps out of the way, and this is for layout 1. Okay, page 8. We're doing the little snowmen with, let me see, no, not the snowman. Is it the snowman or is it the, let me make sure I'm getting the right thing. Those don't look like snowman on the paper, so it must be mittens. So the mittens and scarves, that's what it is. And we want this side, not the sandals. Such cute beach paper. Take your zip strip off. And this big one is going to be, and it doesn't matter which way you do it because it's all spins around. This one is going to be 8 by 10. So I'm going to just go ahead and do the 10 inch side first. And then 8 inch. And that is for layout 2. And then take the next paper, also the same. Take your zip strip off. We're doing the mittens and the scarves. And we're gonna do 8 by 6. So I'm gonna go 6 first. And then 8. Got some good scraps here if you wanna make some Christmas cards out of them. 8 inch. All right, and that goes to layout 2. And then we're doing, now we're back to the snowman. Take your zip strip off. What cute paper this is. I love it. All right, keep it turned this way because we want our snowman to be horizontal on when we cut it. So you're gonna cut, I'm gonna start from the left-hand side because it doesn't matter because there's the same snowmans all the way, right? And I'm gonna do 2 inches. So make sure your snowmen are facing that way. 2 inches by 11 3/4. So I'm gonna take off the 2 inches and then we're gonna go 11 3/4. And then that goes to layout 3. The all would be layout 3, so I'll just set it aside. The next one is 1 by 11 3/4. It doesn't matter if you're taking it off the top of the page or the bottom. I'm just going, because it's the same print the whole way down. I'm just going bottom there. All right, and that'll be 11 3/4. And that's gonna go in the same piles, 2 inches by 8 inches. And 1 inch by 8 inches. Now you could have taken that all off the top, and if you take it off the top, it's probably gonna look more like what theirs looks like when you're putting it together, but it's not gonna matter because it's still the same print the whole way. All right, 1 by 8. And those are gonna go for layout 3. We're getting close to being done. And the snowman, yeah, no, not the snowman, the green checked paper, zigzag paper. Take off the zip strip. And that is going to be 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. Now we'll hope that all of this cutting is correct because Jennifer's also pretty notorious for making mistakes. But we'll work with it if she does. Okay, I don't think I just did that right. 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. Why does that not look right? Oh, I cut wrong. All right, where's my other one? Let me go back. This is what happens when you're talking. 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. That's what you need. Oh, am I gonna need that other paper? Who knows? Luckily, I have a backup plan because I do have an extra pack of this paper. Okay, so 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. And that's layout 3. And now we're going to page 9. Oh, and my backup plan is I'm gonna need it because it needs to be 11 3/4. So hold on 1 second. Luckily, I have an extra pack. So I'm just gonna grab one out of there, but I think that we caught the mistake in time so that you won't make that same mistake. And just in case, I will put a little blurb on the video so that you don't. So 11 3/4 and 11 3/4 for the second page too. All right, just like that. That is layout 3. And I believe we are done and ready to put these together. Thanks guys, that we will put them together tomorrow.